Hello and welcome to this installment of Be, Do, Learn, Have, Live. I was going to say that's Wendy. It is Wendy.
Hi.
And this is me, Dave. All right. This video is coming out from the fact that we are in the middle of a stint of watching The Secret 6 times at least. I was thinking of doing it for a week, but I was challenged back doing the Mulberry course by one of the participants called Frances. I'm not going to give her last name out just because I don't want to cause any problems there. Not there would be, but you never know. Respect then. And so Frances looked at me and essentially out of the blue said, okay, you know what? I think you need to watch The Secret 6 times in a row. And I was like, okay. And then coming after Mulberry, I've sort of since forgotten about it. It's popped in my head a few times, and it's just recently come back. Okay, I said I was going to do this, so let's go on and do it. We've started watching it.
So how many times have we watched it before we started watching it in succession this week?
Okay, well, prior to this week of watching it, we'd, as a family, watched it 4 times.
4 or 5, I think. Yeah.
Five would be as a four is where I've counted, but it's possible we got an extra one in there.
Yeah.
And those have been over the course of probably about 2-3
years.
years maybe. And I think the kids have watched that with us.
Yeah.
Other than maybe the first time.
Second time they watched it.
The second time they watched it, but yeah, the first time Wendy and I watched it. And we've taken more from it every single time we've watched it. And now coming to watch it for the 6 times in a row, of which we're now four times
Just
through.
Just 4 today, yeah.
And it's interesting to see that it's not, although you can watch I can watch this video potentially and see it, okay, it has point, it's got lots of excellent information in there, but you can also watch it from the viewpoint of, wow, this is kind of cheesy. And I'd say that it is. I think when it was done, it was actually a bit of a low-budget film, and they just or documentary, and they've had lots of wonderful people on it. And like I say, the information is outstanding, and it certainly got some wonderful things to take away from. So far, I haven't actually been bothered by watching it over and over again. There's been a few things that Wendy and I have done that we've watched, and it's like, okay, on the next video, we got to watch this. And I think part of it could be the fact that we're choosing to watch this multiple times in a row, rather than being told you absolutely have to. It's like, oh, I've got to watch it again, okay, and I got to force it in. But because of the way it's been filmed and produced, it also has that ability to be just easily watching, and it's not that you have to watch things in and out. And I know Bob Proctor himself, who is one of the stars on the show, has said in his conferences that he certainly believes in repetition, and the whole point of repetition is whether you're listening to an audiobook, reading a book, having conversations, or wherever you're getting your information from, by having the same information given to you multiple times, it allows your brain to kind of go, okay, I'm active. I'm like, oh, I've just dropped out because I thought of something. Oh, hey, what's that going on again? And then so you kind of constantly keep coming in and out. And what I'm finding is in this particular program too, as we're watching it, well, the kids might come in and start talking. The dog starts barking. There's some other conversation or some point of view where there's a distraction. And although for the most part I'm still watching, my head kind of goes, okay, it's off to lunch at some point, and then you come back and go, look, I want to focus on one of those, and there's a period of time between when you put it on pause and what have you, to sort of take care of what's coming up, or washroom break or tea break, or you name it. There's always something, and you pause. But even on a pause, although you can watch exactly the next piece of information, your brain has sort of gone to this filter bit and says, okay, well, do I take that bit of information in as I carry on, or do I just like forget that first bit and then carry on? So even the pauses have act as a distraction and what have you in there. So it's been interesting going through it.
I found the content just constant push of the same thing every day, or even just the 4 days in a row, it's been really, really useful. I think for me, I think the visualization part for the law of attraction has sunk in a little bit more, because I did visualize and then I sort of stopped doing it, and so now I'm back to doing it again. And also having the feeling attached to the want from the universe, which is really, really important, either the gratitude or the love or the passion and all that sort of feeling stuff that needs to go with requesting something from the universe. So that's really settled into my mind a little bit more. Has it made any difference to you?
Yes, I was thinking in the pool, and I'm going to see if I can actually remember everything now. The visualization was actually one aspect for me. They talk about, it's John Assaraf, I think, who talks about the vision boards. Yeah. And Wendy and I both have vision boards. And although mine is up next to the side of the bed, I don't necessarily look at it every single day. And when I do, I look at it and I see the images and go, okay, yes, that's what I would like, but I don't know that I really have any of that feeling of being in the now of doing it. It to me, I just know that it's going to come. And in that regard, the other thing that they talk about in a big way on here, I think Lisa Nichols talks about it, is having the belief and believing in what you want and what you desire as actually having it. And there's another way of looking at that as expectations. And I think that's more where my mind is at. Although while I was swimming, I was actually putting it in sort of in how I think and view things, and actually saying, rather than it being an expectation of mine, there's lots of things that I have that are assumptive on my part. And that would be how I view the belief, is that it's not that I'm believing it's going to happen. I just assume, okay, that's what's happening. So I assume that I've got a great relationship. I assume that I've got excellent health. I assume that everything in the universe is going to work out for me. These are my expectations, my assumptions, and I don't really put too much thought into anything else, because that's where my brain's at. So I don't know if it's quite necessarily at a level of belief. It's assumed. So I need to start getting into belief, because these are the things that I've got, but not necessarily where I'm wanting to go.
Assume just seems to be rather meh. Not meh, but it feels like you're not committed enough. It's just, yeah, it's going to happen, which is a great attitude, but I still think you need to have a more of a beefier word or a beefier feeling for it, instead of just an assumption. I don't know if that might be worth sort of.
Oh yeah, I do agree with you certainly on that part there, and that's one of those challenges that I do have. I do actually agree with Wendy on that front of going, yes, this is assumptive, and although I technically don't use the term meh a whole lot, I do appreciate that there isn't a whole lot of feeling in there, and the reason I use the term assumption is, from my perspective, there's as little thought about it's not going to happen as there is of it's happening.
Well, that's a good thing.
Right, so it's not that I'm constantly thinking, oh man, things are bad, oh, but I'm assuming it's going to be fine. The assumption is it's going to be okay, which I have heard or read in somewhere else, going that's not necessarily the right aspect as well, because essentially you could also argue that being assumptive is that this sort of like this death line of thought, rather than it being, well, it's a negative thought or it's a positive thought.
It doesn't inspire anybody to saying, I assume so. It's just.
So anyway, I'm conscious of that, and that is certainly how my thought process is at this point. So I'm aware, and I do need to look and change that to get the feelings behind what I'm after, and certainly that's what I need to do. That it's also highlighted for me that there's a number of specific items that I could probably be either doing or doing better. So the visualization of the vision boards is not something I've actually done for a while, where I've gone and pictured myself, because my aim is to go into space. So for a period of time, I have actually had the thought of myself arriving at Mojave. There I am standing outside the hangar, looking at Unity and going up to the underside and climbing up on in, and then I see myself inside the ship, and I'm looking at sort of the backs of the pilots, and they close it all up and they drive us out to the end of the runway, and we take off and we go up into space, and I go through the whole thing. So I've been weightless and all that kind of stuff. So I have done that, I just haven't done it for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to, I have started on a script for myself to actually have that as a hypnosis thing for me to listen to, or as part of a meditation. So I do need to get and finish that off and actually do that recording.
Yeah.
So that I can get sort of some of that emotional feeling in. As far as other aspects go, typically I try and book certain things in, or just at whatever convenient point I will arrange to do something. So that's kind of.
What does Yoda say? There is no try.
There is no try. That's right. There's only do. There's no try. So I don't try to do anything. I do stuff. It either doesn't happen and then I do it. So I've kind of got the two levels. I think about stuff in between. So that's what happened with skydiving for me last year. And I was like, okay, great. I've done this. That's awesome.
It was a year ago nearly.
Yep. And so where my attempt is for that is to actually go back and book in a whole point and actually learn how to, so I can jump out of a plane on my own, not as a tandem. And then I can start jumping off cliffs and doing all sorts of other fun things. So that's sort of where I'm going.
I'm going to go and book myself a test drive with a Mini, because I just want a Mini. So that's going to be on my list of things to get booked up and go and try that out. And I know that you want to go to Montreal and do a Tesla test drive, right?
That's right. And it turns out that actually both our sons seem to be interested in Teslas
well
at the moment, which has nothing to do with my influence on it. They happen to have got interested in watching a video or something the other day themselves, which was kind of interesting. And so I'd be looking to do that with a friend of ours who we mastermind with once a week or once every couple of weeks. So we'll be heading to Montreal to do a test drive of Teslas there and get our hands around the steering wheels and
like on the movie.
That's right, Dark and all that. So, and a lot of this stuff has come from watching The Secret over again. So it's more brought up the level of intensity of, okay, yes, there's a few things that I'm not quite doing. I'm not having the feeling or the emotions behind stuff, or there's, as with a lot of practices from the books we're reading, you do need to take the action of actually doing what they say. And on The Secret, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's like, well, if you're not going to do this and sit there and visualize, what harm can come to you from doing it? So do it. It doesn't matter whether you look or feel like a fool.
Yeah, Mike Dooley,
do it. So that's...
I know all their names now.
Yeah,
I've been watching it so many
times.
Right.
So that's one of those things. There's been a lot of little bits over and over, and just watching it again, you keep taking it in, going, okay, yeah, that actually is resonating with me more this time. And sometimes there's phrases that just hit you just that little bit more. So certainly worthwhile watching multiple times. I mean, even from the first time we've watched it, we've certainly believed in everything they're saying. It's just a question of going, okay, at what point does the little voice in your head go, nah, to, okay, that makes sense, to, yeah, okay, now I need to do that, and slap the little voice and stop it.
That's right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, the little voice is kind of a dangerous thing.
Okay, so we have 2 or 3 more days to go with The Secret, and maybe we can do a weekly watch for the next 6 weeks or something like that. Wouldn't be a bad idea, just to keep it fresh. And the kids are actually, come on in, sit down, watch the rest of it, or the other one comes in later on. But I think they really are. I want to do a separate video on how our kids have grown with this journey as well with us. And I mean, they're nowhere near where we're at right now, but they really are starting to pedal up quite nicely. So
it's interesting, very interesting to see how they've changed over time. As our eldest absolutely is more skeptical. But anyway, that's part of another video. So I think we'll end this one there, and then we'll do another one, because we've got a book we actually want to talk about. Actually, perhaps even a couple. But anyway, we'll end this one right here. And our cat's just freaked out on a piece of paper. But anyway,
see you on the next one.
See you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.